this plan to smear Trump with Russia collusion. I talked to you this morning, and you said this is a lot deeper and a lot more meat to it than anybody is talking about. You want to take us through it?
Yeah, I was like, of course this would happen right when I'm on vacation. Something like this drops,
sure,
and it's so insane. And what kind of annoyed me. So this is amazing. We'll get to like the contents of it, but what kind of annoyed me is, politicians, people in the FBI, CIA, all that are working for Trump now and trying to get to the bottom of this. They're not storytellers, and they're not claiming to be storytellers. I wish that they would have had more of a storyteller mind and mindset for this, because they should have released this Durham annex before the ODNI report that Tulsi Gabbard released. And the reason I say that is because multiple times it talks about the special services that were involved and that were going to put more oil on the fire, which they were talking about the FBI, and pushing this narrative of Russian collusion forward. Now, the FBI analysts said these special services were probably CIA or FBI, people that were, close to the Clinton campaign. Well, we got that information in the ODNI report a couple of weeks ago. The special services were, it looks like it was allegedly the Obama administration right at the top that were ordering a new intelligence community assessment because they didn't like the fact that, they had said that there was no collusion, there was no hacking involved, there was nothing that pushed the election in Trump's favor. They didn't like that, so they ordered a new one. These are the
special services were the people that were in the Oval that President or in the Security Council room that President Obama called together, right?
Right, exactly. So if they would have released this Durham annex first, they talked about special services, then they could have put later on and showed how, well, this is how the government was colluding. So yes, it was a Clinton plan. This was in the Durham annex released, what was it, Thursday or Friday?
Yeah.
Yes, it was a Clinton plan. It involved the entire deep state apparatus. Now, I say that word very specifically because they mentioned the deep state twice. They actually mentioned it twice in this. I'm like, were you kidding me? I couldn't believe this was getting out on my vacation. They mentioned it twice. Now, where did this information come from? It came from a source named T1. Now, T1 is very, very mysterious. We're not sure who this source is, but I was rapidly looking through everything I could. I think it probably is one of our allied countries. I think there was news coming around about the time that the Dutch security service had hacked or penetrated some of Russia's communications. So it was like, there were double hacks, triple hacks going on all around this time. It sounds like it was one of our allies, and they're reading in on what the Russians are putting together on this.
I just can't get past the Dutch secret services. Do they have do they have phones in their wooden shoes? I mean, it would be hard for them to sneak around in those shoes. I'm sorry, but go ahead. I just had to say it so I could get it off my mind. Go ahead.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know how they're ahead of us on this, but hey, proximity, I guess. They're closer.
Okay.
But yeah, so they got this information. They are compiling it and then giving it back to our intelligence services. So our intelligence services, like the CIA, are like, this is legit. They've got communications from, let's go back to what I said about the deep state, from some of these think tanks, which I completely agree they are part of this deep state apparatus. Some of these think tanks that are associated with Hillary Clinton or have they're just warm about her. And then so not only think tanks, but also organizations, NGOs, like the Open Society Foundation. There was one of their bigwigs over in Europe that was talking about how he's getting, plans for directly from the Clinton campaign, that this is being, this is given a go from her directly, and that she is expecting special services to help.
Now, this is the memo from Leonard Bernardo, right? From Open Society. They're saying that Bernardo has said, I never wrote that letter. I never said that in the email. Yep. I don't know what you're talking about. So what gives it any credence to you?
So This was the disconnect between the FBI, which is not surprising to me because of people like McCabe and Comey that are all part of this at the time. But the FBI is saying this information, this intercept, is not credible because it's it was hilarious. They gave like multiple different responses. One was, it looks like they're compiling from different information. It looks like they might be exaggerating. It looks like some of it could be hearsay. So basically everything that was in the Steele dossier, it's almost sounds like they're describing the Steele dossier.
Correct.
But it wasn't about Trump. It was about Hillary Clinton. So this one, they're saying, oh, no, we can't include it. Let's lock it away in a burn bag in a small closet in the FBI building. We can't talk about it. But the Steele dossier briefed that to President Obama immediately. Are you kidding me? But the CIA is saying, wait a minute. They disagreed. They said, wait a minute. This is a source. And I'm paraphrasing, so these are not direct quotes, but they're saying this is a source that we have. This stuff is credible. The FBI is saying, well, it looks like it's a compilation. Well, yeah, it sounds like it is. Bernardo is saying, I never wrote this. It sounds like there was the explanation was that they were gathering from multiple different reports from the Russians that had intercepted some of this stuff. And he's putting it all together and then saying, well, this was said during this time. This was said during this time. And he compiled it all together and put it out there in one of their memos and released it to us. So it doesn't surprise me at all that, Bernardo could make a claim, true or not, who knows, that I never wrote those words specifically. That doesn't absolve him. And it sounds like the CIA and our intelligence was saying, yeah, like whatever. It might not have been word for word, but this is a trusted source. We need to listen to it. And it was trusted enough that they had to brief immediately the heads of the Obama administration about it. So now, draw your own conclusions there.
They also, the CIA takes, this is the way they get information. Like if the Russians are spying on us, they don't ever take an exact email. They take pieces, so you don't ever know exactly who got it or where it leaked or how it happened. Correct?
Yeah, true. And yeah, the Dutch security services that would be allegedly getting this information, they're getting it through, either emails or transmission signals intelligence, listening in on their conversations, whatever. They're getting this however they're getting this, and they're compiling it into reports. They're creating analysis reports, and then they're transmitting that back to their superiors, and then some of that to us. So yeah, it's complicated. It's intelligence mumbo jumbo, but it sounds like the intelligence community was on board with this being credible, actionable intelligence, but the FBI for some reason was like, let's not pay attention to this. Let's lock it away. But the interesting thing about a lot of this, Glenn, was it kind of irritates me how even today, how we're responding to this, because we're still giving the Democrats, I guess, it's like a political smokescreen. You really have to look into what was freaking the Democrats out and the deep state, which again mentioned twice in this memo, what was freaking them out. It wasn't just random stuff about Trump and Russia, which that stuff was all made up, which we now know. But it was everything that was going on at the time. Now, what was going on at the time? They were concerned, and it mentions in this memo, all the distracting away from Hillary Clinton's emails and what was inside those emails. Now, what do we know? Well, we also know that it wasn't just Hillary Clinton's emails that were hacked. Remember, there were the DNC leaks. There were the Podesta email leaks. There were all these other leaks, which included information like the DNC basically rigging their election, getting rid of Bernie Sanders because they really wanted Hillary Clinton to become president. Pick a scandal that Obama says he never had, like his drone strikes. That was in there. What was going on, Glenn, in Ukraine? That was also released in all of these hacks that they are now trying to distract away from.
It also verifies something that we said was happening, where they were funneling all of this money through NGOs like George Soros. All of that stuff all of the connections were in this. Do we know who hacked her emails and who hacked her and who hacked the DNC? Do we know that yet?
I think that specifically we need to go back and demand solid proof that it was the Russians. Now, I don't know if it was the Russians. It very well could have been. But back in the day, and the memo mentions that this was happening like at the beginning of 2014. So well before the election, these penetrations were beginning to try and hack these, try to hack this information. But if you look at news reports from back then, the speculation was wild. They were saying that I was just reading it was from the AP, how they were talking about how there are intrusion records that showed people from China were trying to hack these emails, people from Germany were trying to hack these emails, and people from South Korea were trying to hack these emails. Now we just assume that it was Russia because the intelligence community back in 2016 and early 2017, because they told us it was Russia. I think we have to go back and re-examine all of that, because how many hoaxes can we pull out of this? We're just accepting that one is true. It could be, but we have to look back. And there was larger speculation that was going on and that was involved back during the time when this was originally happening.
You know, Stephen Miller, do we have the audio of Stephen Miller? Let's play this audio, what he said over the weekend, and then we'll take a break and come back with more with Jason. Here's the audio of Stephen Miller.
The Russia collusion hoax against President Trump remains the single greatest hoax and the greatest assault on our democracy in the history of this country. There's no comparison. There's no parallel to anything else. It was a coup. And I'm using that term literally. It was a coup to overthrow a democratically elected government, a coup carried out by the intelligence apparatus of this country, by the deep state, by Hillary Clinton and the Democrat Party. The new information that has been revealed by the Director of National Intelligence and by the FBI eliminates any scintilla of doubt about the intention, the premeditation, the planning and orchestration of this conspiracy. It meets all of the criminal elements of a seditious conspiracy against the United States. It meets the criminal elements of an insurrection. It meets the criminal elements of a conspiracy against the government and the criminal elements of a conspiracy to deprive citizens of their civil rights under color of law.
And I don't think he goes far enough on that, because he's only talking about one part. I think there's a prediction of mine made in 2009 that is about to come true. I said, if this administration is not held to account soon, remember, this is 2009, in the end, we will find corruption that will make Watergate look like child's play. And it's not just this. As Jason just said, they are worried about all of the other stuff. It's not just Donald Trump they're worried about. They're worried about the exposure on all of the other things that were happening at the time, including Ukraine and Benghazi and all of that stuff. This is all tied to this. I'm convinced of this. We'll have more with Jason in just a minute. I want to share something that Molly Hemingway wrote this weekend, and see if just get your response from this. Special Agent Peter Strzok and his mistress, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, we remember them, they sued the Department of Justice over the release of messages detailing their role in pushing the Clinton campaign's Russian collusion hoax. They said the release of the messages were written using government resources and it violated their privacy. The Biden administration rewarded the duo with lucrative payouts. He got $1.2 million in taxpayer funds, and Page received $800,000 in the settlement. And I remember being pretty outraged by this. Well, now we know that it was Brian Netter, the Deputy Assistant Attorney General. He was the individual that approved the settlement. Because remember, we were asking that at the time, who did this? Well, Nutter currently serves as the legal director of Democracy Forward, a Democratic Party affiliated group that was launched in 2017 to fight President Trump with lawfare. Mark Elias also chairs the board of Democracy Forward. So now I just want you to watch this web. Elias was the Clinton campaign general counsel. He signed the checks for the Russian collusion hoax. It was all run through Elias's law firm as legal services. Clinton was fined only $113,000 for false claims she made to hide her role in this. Elias also ran Democrats' legal's effort to destabilize the 2020 elections with sudden expansion of unsupervised mail-in balloting operations. Remember that? Also, other board members of Netter's group include former Clinton campaign manager John Podesta, the former Biden chief of staff Ronald Klain, and the former leader of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, Minnie Myers. Netter worked for Merrick Garland's Department of Justice through 21 to 25. He was also on a committee comprised of only members appointed by Nancy Pelosi. Also, he married the Democratic lawyer and activist Karen Dunn, who was married by Merrick Garland. She worked for Hillary, and she also started a law firm with Jeannie Rhee, who worked on the Russian collusion hoax.
Glenn Beck.